Welcome to the Three Questions Webcast series. I'm Wayne Baxter, Executive Director with One Capital Management. At One Capital Management, we help our clients develop and implement strategies that enable them to grow, protect, and ultimately distribute their wealth. And we do that by offering investment wealth management services. Thank you for taking time to join us. My clients are often referred to as cross-border clients. Why is that? Well, it's because they're either US or Canadian residents who wish to invest in US or Canadian dollar denominated securities, stocks, bonds, ETFs, for example. Now, our process for advising our clients includes a really in-depth discovery, diagnostic analysis of their wealth management goals and objectives. And as one would expect, that analysis will include a review of their Medicare insurance needs. Joining me to discuss this is Emily Gangware, and we're going to be reviewing today the three questions you should ask before applying for Medicare. And Emily is also known as the Medicare Coach. She's a Denver, Colorado-based Medicare consultant, and she assists her clients across the United States navigate Medicare rules and insurance company confusion to help them make the right decision to protect their healthcare rights and retirement savings. So Emily, first of all, thank you so much for making time to join me today. I really do appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me. It's really my privilege. So thanks so much, Wayne.
Well, this is the irony of all of this. And they say timing is everything. Very recently, I just received an email from a fellow expat Canadian like myself who's looking for assistance with their plans going forward. Specifically for them, do I remain living here in the US after I retire, or do I move back to Canada? Now, in all of that, they sent me an email, and the question they asked was this: I just turned 65 this month. Do I need to do anything regarding my Social Security if I don't plan to start receiving it yet? Now, what's that got to do with Medicare? Well, the response was, I sent her, I says, no, you really don't have to do anything with Social Security, but you do need to start looking into your Medicare. So I think that's a perfect lead in to today's webcast. Timing is perfect, as they say.
Absolutely.
For sure. So we're going to go just right through this today, and probably your responses may prompt other questions, but that's fine. So the three questions you should ask before applying for Medicare. The first one is really obviously, what is Medicare and how much will it cost? So why don't we just start with that?
Absolutely. And it is a good question to start with, right? Because I think that first off, people get very confused, at least in America, between Medicare and Medicaid. So Medicaid tends to be lower income individuals, while Medicare is usually for people 65 and over, although you can enroll in Medicare before 65 if you qualify under certain disabilities. That's kind of for another session, but Medicare is the health insurance in America that covers most people when they're 65 and over. And really the history is that back in the day when this was created, it was really hard to get health insurance if you were 65. Insurance companies did not want to cover you because they thought that you were expensive and, life was different then. But it's still for people 65 and over and can be really good health insurance. We'll get to that in a bit if you know what to do. So again, Medicare there's a lot of attributes to it, but it's your hospital insurance, your medical insurance that covers most of your healthcare needs when you're in America. Now, does that make sense, Wayne? In terms of
you're off to a good start now. I guess, yeah, and it would also, those costs would include cost of medication, correct?
Correct.
Right.
So if we think of Medicare, it's technically Medicare Part A, which is your hospital coverage, and Medicare Part B, which is your medical coverage. So technically, Medicare as a whole doesn't really cover most medications. Now, Medicare Part B will cover, say, medications administered by a medical professional. So if you're getting chemotherapy trips to the doctor, Medicare Part B will cover that. But most medications are actually covered by Medicare Part D drug plans, which are actually privately issued insurance plans. So I'm not trying to confuse us. There's a lot to Medicare, which gets messy.
I think you're just alluding to the complexity of the whole process and why having a Medicare coach like yourself is so valuable. So second part of my first question is the cost. Now, is there a fixed cost for Medicare? How is that quantified?
Yeah. For most expats, as long as you or your spouse have 40 quarters of US work history, you should get Medicare Part A for quote unquote free. Now, it's not really free because if you look at your taxes,
you contributed to it.
Yeah, there's a line item there, but quote unquote free. Now, there's a fee though for everyone for Medicare Part B. And as we record this in 2022, it's around $170 a month per person. With that said, if your income is higher and they look back 2 years, you can pay more for Medicare. So Medicare can cost up to $500, around $500 per person if you were in that highest tax bracket. So it's not free, and there's other parts as well, but for most people, Medicare is very affordable insurance compared to what their employer plan has or what other sources have as well. Now, it's different from Canadian healthcare as well. So we're not going to talk about those costs. We can all talk about American healthcare costs and the challenges. But for most people, it's a pretty good price when it comes to Medicare.
Well, your response kind of reminds me of when I was on vacation one time, and my wife and I were looking at some sort of touristy goods to buy, and the vendor said it's almost free.
Yeah.
Sound very similar to that.
And I think of one of the clients, Wayne, one of your clients that I was helping, and he was looking to join Medicare, and Medicare for him would have been pretty affordable. However, we had this back surgery outstanding, right? And we were kind of talking about the fact that I'll probably have to have back surgery in the next few years. And, I asked him, well, which surgeon do you want to have your surgery through? And by going down that path, we found that surgeon does not take Medicare at all. Okay. And so Medicare is not great when you want to have procedures done by someone who does not take Medicare, right? We have an issue there. But with him, we were at least able to be thoughtful in advance and say, okay, that surgeon does not take Medicare. So we have a couple options. One, you can pay probably $50,000 out of pocket for that surgery. Or two, you could go to one of his partners who does take Medicare. So I think my point is, as long as we can be thoughtful around how Medicare works and what your at least thoughtful health needs are for the future, we can be thoughtful around retirement planning when it comes to those expenses.
And I think that's just and in that instance, what it enabled us to do was basically plan for that. So as opposed to just jumping into the deep end of the pool without any thought, we were actually able to factor that in to the client's future financial needs. You mentioned Canadians more than once. Thank you very much. And so, like myself, expat Canadian living in the United States, why would someone like me who's now relocated to the United States, why would I want to think about Medicare when I turn 65? What's the rationale behind that?
Yeah, I think it's all about, Wayne, right? What insurance do you want? So I think about one of your other clients who lives in Canada. She's a dual citizen. Her kids are in the US, and she would like to spend more time in the US. And she'd also like to get surgeries a little bit quicker than what she can get in Canada. And so in the US, she has access to that. So I think Medicare, it doesn't make sense for everyone. But I think if you want to have access to the US healthcare system and you plan on spending a decent amount of time here, and you've already qualified for those benefits, it's worthwhile looking in to the options that you have, because it can be very valuable for some people. But as you know, right, Wayne, other people say, I don't want any US healthcare, right? I'm happy with my Canadian healthcare. No, thank you, Medicare. And that's fine as well. But I think it's worth at least exploring the benefits that you have access to, and at least be strategic around how to optimize those for your unique situation.
I think it's a residency issue too. If you're going to be a resident in the United States, it's something you should obviously be looking into, because there definitely could be limitations in terms of what you have to basically relocate back to Canada to enjoy the benefits of the Canadian healthcare system. Most often that's the case. I got a question, just to segue back to the that email I received, which is the timing, to repeat, I just turned 65 this month. Do I need to do anything regarding Social Security? No, but you need to look into your Medicare, applying for Medicare. So what is the timing? Because I know there's some rules around applying for Medicare, and you want to sort of stay within those rules. So maybe you can explain when someone should apply for Medicare, and what is there a sort of apply before date?
Yeah, I recommend that people start thinking about Medicare ideally 9 months before you're 65. And I say that because in America, the Medicare rules say by 65, you either have to be on Medicare or on an employer plan that meets Medicare rules. So if we can start 9 months in advance, we can be thoughtful and strategic around, should you join Medicare at 65? Do you have an employer plan? Do you have a pension plan? We can do things like, again, with your client who we said he wants to have back surgery, and that 9-month window can say, should we expedite that surgery? Should we not? So ideally, people start thinking about Medicare 9 months in advance. Now, if you're joining Medicare at 65, then you need to apply for Medicare about 3 months before that. But again, Wayne, ideally, my clients come to me 9 months in advance so we can be thoughtful and strategic. Again, I think that keeps coming up, and really get to know what your needs are to really find those right steps to take to have you be in the right spot, because everyone is different. And so again, by being thoughtful and planning in advance, it makes everyone's life easier, and it also can save you a lot of money.
So in other words, the client who contacted me and said, I just turned 65 this month, they need to get on the ball right away and submit an application.
Ideally, well, maybe not, maybe not. And we can, again, I could talk about this for hours, but I see some people apply for Medicare at 65 because they get all these scary letters from the government, and that's not the right thing. I mean, people wasted thousands of dollars by enrolling in Medicare when they shouldn't have. But I've seen the exact opposite happen as well, where they didn't apply for Medicare and they should, and they got $45,000 medical bills. And so it really depends on what the situation is as to whether they have to join Medicare at 65, or they should, or they shouldn't.
All right, so that's great. So I'm glad I asked that third question. That's a really important one. I think the obvious, I guess, follow-up to that would really be around the quality of insurance. Is Medicare in your, like, when you look at sort of the benefit, what are the real, like, why is Medicare good health insurance? What are the features and benefits that really jump out at you?
Yeah. So first off, I kind of fell into Medicare when my dad was turning 65 a few years ago, and my background's in investment banking. And I was just amazed at how much time we all spend in our retirement plan, and fixed income, equities, all of it, taxes, all of it. And Medicare was so underserved. I was frustrated that they just basically insurance companies attack you at 64 and a half and just push plans. And I was astonished with one of the biggest costs in retirement is healthcare, that people weren't more thoughtful about it. And that the system really wasn't set up to help people succeed with Medicare. And so that's kind of how I ended up here. And the reality is Medicare can be great insurance if you know what to do. The commercials on televisions are not usually the best for you. Pension plans, some are good, some aren't. But my point is, if you follow a proven process and you know what to look for, Medicare can be really good health insurance. It gets a really bad reputation because of how most people pick out a plan, which is usually based on, again, insurance advertisements, false, zero premiums, free gym memberships, and they miss the big factor. So because Medicare has insurability rules, it's so important to get Medicare right the first time, because if you miss those important steps, Medicare can be a nightmare. But if you do it right, if you do it early when you first join Medicare, it can be an absolute breeze. So,
well, I guess the obvious final wrap up here, Emily, is, for someone who's looking for your assistance, because obviously I can imagine folks watching this today are definitely going to be in that, quite a few of them are going in that camp. How will they be able to reach you? What's the easiest way to contact you?
Absolutely. So the best place to go is to go to our website, which is themedicarecoach.com. I oftentimes offer free trainings. I have a great blog on there, but plenty of free resources for those of you who do want to learn who we are. And you can always do more with our concierge service as well. But themedicarecoach.com is a great place to get started.
Perfect. Emily Gangware, again, the Medicare Coach. And I want to thank you so much for joining me today, Emily. Very educational and informative, and look forward to continue working with you. And won't be too far in the distant future, I'll be introducing you to the individual who contacted me here in the last couple of days. So thanks very much for your time.
I look forward to it. Thanks, Wayne.
And that's Emily Gangware. Thanks a lot, Emily. I look forward to bringing you these 3 questions webcasts, and I hope you find them educational and informative. Please consider liking this video and also subscribing to our YouTube channel. And to receive notifications when our latest webcast will be posted, please click on the notifications bell. And lastly, to schedule an online consultation with me to discuss your wealth management needs, please click on the link in the description box below. And it says Meet with Wayne. Just click on that link, and look forward to talking to you soon. Thank you, and see you soon.